Excellent. Okay, so welcome. It's David here with Independence Live. Thanks very much to everybody who held on. We're a little bit late with some gremlins in the system, but I've got Darren Loki McGarvey with me. Darren, how you doing?
I'm very well, thanks.
We'll call you a player. We'll call you a player in the movement. And as it stands, a spoken and a written word artist as well as a rapper, part of the Scottish rap scene.
Yeah.
But you're moving on. You're progressing. You're studying journalism. You've done a little bit of work with ourselves, Independence Live. But now you've been doing some work experience with the big issue.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I mean, as part of my college course, then work experience placement is part of that. So, I mean, despite the fact that I have worked in various places through the years, then I had to work somewhere in the academic year to prove that I had experience. But luckily, the big issue were happy to accept my request to do work experience. So I was there for 2 weeks. And I mean, by the way, like I'm not quite sure what the significance of that is to your viewers. All I know is I got asked to do an interview about my time at the big issue. So I'm not quite sure how that's interesting to them. But I mean, do you want me to give you a bit of insight into my day-to-day stuff?
Well, just to sort of clarify where we were coming from. Basically, you're a player within the movement. You've got a lot to say.
Yeah.
And we're sort of just like having a wee bit of a catch up, but you were given, and it was quite public, the editor of the big issue had really sung your praises, and that was what prompted to ask you to speak to you about it.
All right. Okay. Cool. Nice one. Well, basically, like my role there was, I think I was probably given a wee bit more responsibility than the average work experience person. From the very first day I went in, I've contributed to the big issue before through an opinion column. So obviously I was looking for the opportunity to show a bit of journalistic skill as well as my own opinion, which people want to hear a lot of, but I don't get opportunities to show I can do other things. So for the very first day, then I was writing up stories, adapting stories. It's the first time I had actually been working in a newsroom environment. I've been in a newsroom environment, and I've been in broadcast places and media places for many years, but it was the first time that I could feel what it was like to actually be in there. So, I mean, obviously the big issue is a kind of political entertainment weekly magazine. They kind of in a lot of ways sort of pioneered the idea of conscious capitalism. Before that was the phrase to describe it, so it's this idea of having a business model that built into it is some sort of payback for people less fortunate or an opportunity. And I know you see it's quite a common thing with social enterprises, and but the big issue have been doing that since 1991. And to turn over a magazine of that quality, it's a British institution really. So to do that, every 7 days is no mean feat. And we have a lot. The staff over there is a lot smaller than people might think. So hang on, I've got a cat trying to escape here. The cat's like that. Oh my God, they're talking about politics. I'm out of here. So I mean, I'm happy to answer any other questions as well, whatever.
So, now within your college course, I do believe the Daily Record had an agreement with the college course, and you would have been entitled to do some work experience with the Daily Record. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote for the Daily Record on one occasion, and that was last year. No, last year. That was at the beginning of the year. I wrote an opinion. I wrote a column about students going out and getting mad with it. Basically, I felt like as a recovering alcoholic, I couldn't knock back the opportunity to use a platform to try and encourage people to be more responsible with their drinking. But obviously, it was a difficult one for me even then because, let's look at this in a balanced way. The Daily Record do provide a vital kind of role in terms of keeping power in check, political power, criminal power. A lot of our daily lives and the sort of way that we join the world together comes from sources at the Daily Record or the BBC, things that we don't necessarily like or want to engage with. But at the same time, the Daily Record has visited a lot of grief on my community. through its coverage of vulnerable people, through its dehumanisation of young people from disadvantaged areas. I wrote quite an extensive essay on this on my Loki Scottish Rapper.com. If you go and check the blog there. So anyway, the reason that I backed away from the opportunity to progress with that was, as much as it represented for me a great professional opportunity, and I'm actually quite pal with some people who write at the Daily Record and the Sunday Mail. They published a story about two young people that I had worked with in Govan, and it was portraying them as scumbags. And I went into college that day. I was like, listen, man, I don't even want to be controversial in college. Understand that? I go into college and I didn't tell anyone that I even went by the name Loki. I didn't tell anyone that I do anything other than just go to college. I was just want to go and fit in. But when I saw this thing, like, on the front page, you know, these two wee guys, really nice wee boys, no wee boys now, but portrayed as scum for a quite rightly, it was quite a stupid thing they done. You know, they made a joke about a wee girl who was horrifically murdered, and it was a ridiculous thing for them to do. But the Daily Record was calling for their blood, you know, with this kind of this moral outrage that it's got no business in dealing with. You know what I mean? When you examine the content of the Daily Record or any other publication for that matter, then you see that all of the contradictions. I mean, for example, they used to employ Frankie Boyle to write a column for them, and his part of his whole shtick is making jokes about things that people find really uncomfortable. So they profited for their association with Frankie Boyle, who profits from the same sense of humour as those boys. So you start examining all that, then you're like, okay, so Daily Record, actually, there's a journalist called Sally Hind. I don't know. I've never met her. I don't know. I'm assuming that, you know, a lot of people might live out in Bearsden or something like that. And so they're not even like putting on a fake moral voice. They live in this world where, you know, that is the things that they get indignant about, and that's what they're passionate about. But I mean, these wee guys were trying to get jobs. These wee guys were in and out of community centres. These wee guys were known in the community as, like, you know, friendly rogues. And then before you know it, the Daily Record are wanting them put in jail. The Daily Record are stirring up a hornet's nest in their community. So anyway, that's the sort of long-winded version. I said that I wasn't wanting to write for the Daily Record. I wasn't looking for an opportunity to be involved with the Daily Record. And this creates friction. This creates friction in college. You know, I was getting pulled in because things that I was saying in my own pub, in my life as an activist or as a person, whatever I am, I don't even know what I am. I was getting pulled in at college and asked not to say these things. So someone at the college is reporting me on the fly to my lecturers and management. And it was just like a kind of difficult juggling that, because I'm studying journalism.
Yeah.
So the act of me actually revealing certain things is part of that, but I don't know. It was confusing at times.
It seems quite let's just say interesting that you're moving towards a profession which is notorious. We've had George Monbiot on with us, and he talked about he works in a profoundly corrupt industry, his words. And yet the process that's leading you towards that is almost conditioning you to be a part of a profoundly corrupt process. That's the way that it sounds.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here are some basic observations, right? The majority of your time on a college course, first of all, let me clarify, for anybody who wants to get into journalism, understand it's not a profession, it's a trade. See, if you understand it as a trade, it'll be a lot easier for you. So if you go and work for the Daily Mail, it's a trade. If you go and work for the Daily Record, it's a trade. You don't necessarily need to agree with the paper, the same way as you don't need to necessarily agree with McDonald's. So the idea of journalism being a noble profession is true, but it's not true in the media and the press. You know, for other journalists who operate outside of the commercial journalism framework, then maybe there's something noble about what they do. But essentially, it's a trade. And a very worthwhile trade, you know what I mean? Go out there, make a career of it or whatever. But essentially, what you notice in college, first of all, you notice, for the first time in 15 years, I'm back in a mainstream education institution, right? So what I'm immediately noticing is the constant emphasis on the business aspect of journalism, right? Papers need to make money, magazines need to make money. Um, Basically, what I'm trying to get to is a very, very small part of the NCTJ, which is the national accreditation, the industry recognised accreditation, a very, very tiny element of that has anything to do with ethics or morality. It's an afterthought in journalism. It's about training you to have the skills in order to produce quick news articles that are designed first and foremost to entertain a reader and then inform a reader. So they use entertainment as a gateway to information, which is understandable. But there's no, once you start studying it, it doesn't take long to realise how journalism's ended up in the state it's in. Because there's, as I say, the ethics are an afterthought. There's no mark to be gained or an exam on ethics. There's no discussion. There's no space to talk about it. And then, of course, there's the whole idea, right, that we recognise widely that print media is in decline. Rupert Murdoch's trying to figure this out and has been for years. Some people work the paywall. Some people believe in access to information or whatever. But everyone recognises it's in decline, and the actual journalism and investigative journalism is under threat. So why is it in college there's no room to even imagine what an alternative might look like? Why are we assimilating to a failed model? And so then the question becomes about education in Scotland, particularly further education. And so for me, the focus is less about the journalists and more about the government in Scotland and what is going on with further education. Because I spent a lot of my time when I was supposed to be studying in college, I spent a lot of time investigating the college, investigating colleges, investigating further education. I couldn't get any advice or support from my lecturers because they're all bound with confidentiality contracts. I couldn't get any support even though I'm chasing stories. I'm having to talk to people like Libby Brooks. I'm having to talk to people like Peter Swindon. I'm having to ask them for advice, and they've got busy schedules because I can't go to anyone in my college to say, here, look, I've heard that that project over in Edinburgh College that cost nearly £500,000 is a failure and no one's talking about it. I heard the principal at our college is under investigation, although no one's revealing why she's been sacked. I'm finding out that these lecturers and this principal are on £140,000 gardening leave. No one knows why. All of this money's been wasted. I was kind of getting the idea the merger in general, the merger programme, the SNP's flagship policy is a failure. It's actually a failure. But there was no way for me to do anything about that. There was no, in fact, I was very, very strongly advised from college not to pursue any further. And I just find that dead interesting because this was around the same time the Edward Snowden documentary came out, mate. So, you know what I mean? Like, further education's like a splash in that big ocean, you know? It's just like...
Okay. Where are you going with this? Because obviously you're going into something which you're quite diametrically opposed to as a person.
Yeah.
But there's also, as you just touched on there, the traditional model of media is designed for print and the previous analog broadcast models. I mean, they're not working anymore. There is an emerging new alternative media. We're one of those. And there are many, but I mean, there are big question marks about new media as well. There was an article in Newsnet Scotland that was just the other day, which was questioning just how far we're actually getting. I mean, where do you see it? I mean, we're at sort of a crossroads here.
Well, I mean, I've been writing and talking about the new media framework in Scotland for over a year now, and actually as far back as the beginning of 2013 before it became a real issue. So, I mean, I've always thought what you want is, you don't want old media collapsing and new media emerging as a replacement. You want competing voices and competing arguments and ways of looking at things, and you want more platforms for audience engagement or citizen engagement is probably I would prefer to call it. I guess the difference between journalism and to bring it back to education again, so obviously I come on here with my own agenda, what I would like to talk about as well. At least with the Daily Record, you know what the Daily Record is. It says very clearly on it, Daily Record. and you understand it's a tabloid newspaper that uses its audience as an excuse to pump out emotionally charged news articles. And so it says, we write the things that our audience want. We're writing for our audience. But notice how they actually weren't writing for their audience during the referendum. And notice how they weren't writing for their audience before the general election. Notice how their editorial voice has changed now the new reality has hit everyone. That they've not even got a viable, their business model's not even viable unless they change how they write. So as much as they say they write for their audience, there's a big editorial voice in there when it comes to political issues. But aside from all that, we understand what the Daily Record really is. The problem is in Scotland, when it comes to further education, we don't really understand what it really is. What we see are words like curriculum for excellence, and what we see is talk of how more and more students are getting access to university courses. What nobody is really talking about, and what the First Minister has become a real genius at avoiding is, and they're so vulnerable in this. They're so vulnerable in this. That's why. But the only thing more vulnerable than the government on this issue are the students in further education, of which I'm one, a returning adult, returning after 15 years of alcoholism, addiction, homelessness, with wee bits of success here and there, then obliterated with more drinking. I'm coming back to education, and everyone in that college is either a young person, an older person returning, or someone with additional support needs, whether it be learning, whether it be physical disabilities from moderate to severe. And bursaries are being cut in colleges. Bursaries are being cut. I could just go on and on and on and on. The issue is that the current Daily Record is more honest with the public than the government is about education. And so, I would urge all of the pro-independence new media to turn their fire on new targets, because in absence of a Labour opposition or any credible opposition, all that means is the SNP government are going to get really shite really quickly. So we've actually got to scrutinise them, and we've got to do that. I've got so much information about the shit that's going on in colleges. The lecturers and staff are scared to say anything. You know what I mean? Like, they're scared to say anything. You should see some of the kind of communications, internal communications in the colleges. An email was circulated just 2 weeks ago in Glasgow Kelvin College, one of the big culprits for votes and no confidence in management that don't get reported, by the way. And it was a really sarcastic email from one of the lecturers, just directly to the principal, but they CC'd all of the other staff in. So that's the level of dissent that's going on. Over at Edinburgh College, you've got Unison, which is the union that represent teachers. You've got them pretty much on the cusp, if they've not already, of balloting their members and taking real proper industrial action regarding the staff cuts, the provision of bursaries, the fact that there's maybe over 10,000 student applications that haven't been looked at yet. So it's a ridiculous amount of organisational incompetence going on, mirrored probably only at Police Scotland, which is another flagship SNP policy, which seems to be not doing too well and no one's talking about it. So as a journalist, these are the issues I'm dead interested in. You know what I mean? As a journalist, these are the issues that I would be getting focused on, whether I was writing for freelance and new media or whether I was working at the big issue. So, I mean, that's kind of, it's a good opportunity for me to talk about the study in journalism as well as what we usually talk about, which is, the results of journalism.
Yeah. We've got a comment just in here from Burger70. Burger70 says, I don't know if it's referring to yourself or me, you are saying the present model was designed. That is incorrect. So I'm not sure if that was me saying that or you saying that, but I'm not sure. Is it incorrect? I mean, I think what we were talking about there was the present model.
Let me put my intelligence specs on, right? Yeah. Okay, cool. The present model of what? The present education model, the present model of journalism.
A bit of clarity. Can somebody just clarify, and then we'll come back to that one. So it'll be interesting just to respond to that point rather than letting it go. But you were writing with Bella Caledonia as well. I mean,
I'm writing on them. I kind of like, Bella Caledonia, Common Space as well. That's a couple of new media outfits that are, in my eyes, doing a really good job at what they do. I mean, Bella's got the kind of where culture and politics meet aspect, ideal, and then the common space, another very kind of small operation. They do a great job with local stories and international stories.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why I know it's actually doing really well is because I mix in a lot of different circles, so I don't just mix with a yes crowd. So I know journalists who wrote for no papers who talk about common space. Some of them have issues with it, some of them don't. The fact is, people know what it is and they check in with it. You know what I mean? Right, let me see what this is saying. We are
Okay.
seeing this. We are seeing this calling out of S&P
Sorry,
councils.
Lucky, that's a different question. Burger 70 was referring to the old media, so we'll just cover that one just now. So the previous model was designed, that is incorrect. We're talking about a print media, the old broadcast media.
So it wasn't designed, right? Well, I know it wasn't designed, but I guess there is an argument that its function in the modern world wasn't by chance. So obviously, most things happen by accident, and then it becomes about finding some sort of order in that chaos. So I think increasingly what we've seen was that we began to apply the war model of journalism to peacetime. So that way where you kind of like during wartime you have intensified propaganda, you have intensified manipulating people's emotions in order to kind of in order to provoke an intellectual response desirable to what your needs are as a state. Well, some of these problems of war and the way that the media was used to address them began to be applied to the problems of peace, which was democracy, and some believing that democracy needs to be managed, and that this is better done with what we have now, which was, hang on, sorry, I'm getting other.
Lockie, I'll tell you what, I'll prompt you with the questions as they come.
Sorry, I'm looking at the side there. I mean, like, I wasn't meaning it was by design, but I'm saying that, it's no surprise that it's no surprise that we have a country where basically two political parties are still in the running, even though everybody knows they're both full of shit, even though everybody knows there's pedos at the centre of government, even though this and even though that. So you go to say that something's by design. You go to say there's power somewhere, and and maybe it's not all part of one big giant orchestrated power move, but there are power centres, and that's just a fact. I feel that is just a fact.
Yeah. Okay, well, there's a few more questions coming in. So I don't have a name here, but it's we're seeing this calling out of SNP councillors in the Scottish Government on a lot of our live streams. It's a real challenge for many of our viewers who are used to SNP bad criticism from the media. So we've always had a biased media, but now we're having to criticise through our channel as well. But I find it difficult hearing all this from people at the sharp end of austerity. Okay, well that's basically a statement. So people are going to have to adapt to the fact that there's going to be some criticism of the SNP and others.
So
we're not going to be partisan.
Let's talk about that then. I mean,
okay.
Let's talk about that. I take it you got a lot of pro SNP people. Well, I voted SNP.
We've not been partisan in terms of party. We've always just been very, pro yes. But we don't support any particular party. So it's going to be new for people to hear criticism of the SNP. It was a trade union event the other day, and there was quite a few criticisms from the inside the trade union. So that's something that it's the way the landscape's changing a wee bit.
Yeah, and so I think that's important. I think it's worth remembering that a lot of the people that are criticising the SNP are actually, like me, voted SNP. So I actually feel like I'm doing my bit as a citizen by being highly critical, because let's not forget, folks, the SNP are the most powerful government in the history of Scotland. The most powerful government in the history of Scotland. Now, they're also a massive public relations operation, which a government has to be. They owe a lot to Tony Blair and New Labour in terms of that model of being one step ahead of the press, staying on message, all the kind of things that kind of that came about after Tony Blair and that new modern way of doing politics. So if people don't want to criticise the SNP, then I'm putting forward an idea that's saying you're too emotional. You're too emotional about it. And the idea that the SNP aren't perfect is actually hurtful to your feelings, and therefore you can't engage with it. At the end of the day, you're not going to give the Tories or Labour an advantage by being honest about the SNP. So if pretend that you are is intellectually dishonest. I think that a lot of people just got involved in politics through the Yes campaign. And I think that it's important that those of us who have been involved in activism for a wee bit longer are very honest with people, because the Yes campaign wasn't honest with them. The Yes campaign says, just vote yes and everything's going to be all right. It didn't prepare anybody for the heartbreak and the resentment and the pain that comes after a no vote, after all the tools of the British state are deployed to maintain the status quo. So as a Yes voter, as an SNP voter, I'm as entitled to my opinion as anybody else. And I'm no scared. I've got no qualms about challenging people that just hang SNP flags on their window and will not have anything bad said about the SNP, but they only just got interested in politics in March last year. Know what I mean? Personally, that's where I'm standing. If that sounds aggressive, it's because I've got to raise my aggression level to meet the level that's out there.
Okay. Brian has said, Brian, who says he works in the public sector, he says this all comes back to the Barnett formula. You'd be thousands in debt if you were south of the border. So this, I assume, is referring to the funding model for further education.
All right. Okay. So that's Westminster's fault then. Okay. Cool. Noted. Anything else? Because no, hang on. Actually, let me take that point. Last year there was the biggest Scottish government underspend ever. So can you explain to me how almost £500 million wasn't spent? So can you tell me how the Barnett formula has anything to do with that? I'm talking to whoever this is, no you, mate. That infuriates me. It was the biggest government underspend. So just wake up to the fact that the Scottish government have got money in the bank. They've got money in the bank that they can quickly respond to the art school crisis. Big public relations. We're investing into the art school. We're going to do this and we're going to do that. Do you know how many schools burned down in places like Paul? Nobody sends money, nobody gives a fuck. Do you know what I mean? So, I'm sorry, Brian, but there is a point where the SNP government, whose flagship policy was to merge the colleges in order to streamline the service and save money, I know that there's actually a culture of bullying in the sector, that there's a culture there's actually like a process of demoralisation going on, where lecturers and teaching staff, but the staff, with the toilet cleaners to the catering staff, all the way up to the level just below senior management, are all fed up and don't want to go into their work. They're all fed up. So whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? That's just the way it is. Sorry. Everybody just wants to be pure. Everybody wants to be pure Eddie Reader about it. Here's the Eddie Reader analysis. What about the Barnett formula? What about the Barnett formula? Fuck that. Do you know what I mean? Like, somebody's got to tell people a bit of harsh truth. A bit of harsh truth. You can't just go and use Net Scotland every day or fucking whatever. You got to get out there and actually talk to the people working in these industries, working in these sectors who are like that. I'm pulling my hair out. I don't want to go to work. I don't want to go to work. You know what I mean? Sorry, man.
No, that's good. Thanks very much for sending your questions in, folks. And if you've got any more questions, Loki will be more than happy to answer them for you. Anyway, why don't we come back to Common Space? Now, Common Space came out of Common Wheel, and it was a brainchild, really, of Robin McAlpine. And I remember we were talking about this through the summer.
One of his many brainchildren.
But as far as I'm concerned, I mean, you've done a bit more work with them more closely. It's a fantastic model. It begins with taking people who, are fantastic researchers and gives them the liberty to produce not just a well-researched news, but there's policy being created. And they're also sharing broadcast media from other outlets. Independence Live's material, Livestream
Yeah.
Scotland's material has been shared. I mean, what are your thoughts on Common Space? Just
Common
on how,
Space.
yeah,
Common Space, right? So we've got Common Space, which is the kind of the journalism arm of Commonweal.
yeah,
So it basically deals. It's a full-time staff with an editor and a small editorial team of journalists, and they work to cover things from very local and obscure stories to big international stories, such as weapons deals with Saudi Arabia, and so just showing that kind of range in itself is interesting. They also have a kind of different sort of voice for anything else that we've got there that I think reflects the wider Commonweal movement. So they're writing for their audience, they're writing for their audience who happen to be really highly critically engaged citizens. So I mean, I know most of the people over there. Obviously, like I chat to people quite regularly. I actually have worked with producing kind of semi stuff that they hosted for things that we were doing. So I think it can only go from strength to strength. At the end of the day, as long as everybody is applying the basic journalistic principles of making sure stuff's accurate and making
yeah,
sure stuff, then what does it matter? Where it comes from. Like if you can fact check it and you can see it's an accurate story, then that's more information out there. I think the whole kind of wider Commonweal movement in itself, you can see, this Robin guy's really got it going on. He's really switched on. What he's dealing with, what he's creating almost is a wee empire in Scotland. You know what I mean? He's creating a wee empire in Scotland. He's very, very smart. So imagine him as being the kind of the proprietor, the proprietor of Common Space, the proprietor or the head policy wonk in their other division. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
so what you're seeing is like you're seeing it all the indie, not even indie of no or nothing. You're seeing the biggest, most functional monolith, political monolith that's not political that I can never remember happening. Definitely in my lifetime, for something to be apolitical, essentially, in the sense that it's not aligned with a party.
yeah.
So, I mean, for me, it's dead interesting to watch. It's dead interesting to watch, and I think they're dead clear about what Commonweal is.
Mm.
So, I mean, I've no issues around
Yeah,
that because it's very clearly a brainchild of Robin McAlpines, and everybody involved knows that.
yeah. And it seems what it was envisaged to be, I think, is something bigger and beyond what we have at the moment. But this gradual step towards it's so as you say. I mean, it's apolitical, very well researched and accurate news stories. Not necessarily not necessarily following what the mainstream media are going for.
Mm.
And then it also follows with policy, and it does allow for the sharing of other people's material, which is quite relevant. And I think that's one of the main things is that we need to actually be in a mix here. And what I'm going to come to here is
I think it's very methodical. It started out for a kind of academic, obscure policy machine, and then there's a recognition that the populace needs to be, I don't know, the attitude within the citizenry needs to be cultivated of being able to interpret and understand information on a certain kind of level in order to actually bring about the kind of change and the kind of consciousness that we need. And so that's where the news division comes in, because as that starts to expand, what you're seeing in the common space is a reflection of the issues pertinent to Commonweal. So you're looking at world issues through that lens. So the people that engage with the news, if they're just engaging with it, they're slowly kind of picking up a Commonweal way of breaking down their environment. And that comes with all the lingo to describe it in every single aspect. So it does kind of raise consciousness in a sense. And you can see that that is part of a methodical process of not just having the policy ideas, but having the framework in place where essentially like people can improve their level of understanding through engaging, and that's very clever, and that's no mean feat. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that people get stoned and imagine doing. This is people's actually doing it.
Okay, Burger70 as I said, I understand having alternative voices in the media, so fair play to you all doing this. But Common Space on the 21st of June, there's going to be, and I wish I could be, I really wish I could come to this, but there's going to be a get together, and it's going to be basically all, it's the second launch of Common Space with all the different media contributors. We've got Bella Caledonia and the news, what it's called. I forget what it's called. So. Well, Newshaft, that's the one. Sorry, guys, I forgot. I just couldn't quite get it there. Newshaft, all these people are going to be coming together. We're going to be sending our people, and everyone's going to meet together. And I think that's going to be fantastic, because that means we can all start to, see how far have you got so far? What are you doing, and how can we kind of work together and share it and promote each other? Because I think that's one of the great things about new media as well, is the way that we shouldn't be competing against each other. We should be trying to raise the bar. If somebody's doing really well, let's try and be as good as them, but we're not trying to put anybody else down around us. It's not working like that at all. But I think you get good hopes for what's
going to happen. It's because there's no money in it yet, mate. Once the money comes in, that's when people start fighting with each other.
It's probably a valid point. That's probably a valid point. Well, that's maybe another point as well. We're going to have to say a massive thank you to everybody who contributed to our crowdfund, because that's how we managed to keep ourselves live. So once again, thanks very much to absolutely everybody who helped, and everybody who gave something, everybody who tweeted out, who endorsed us to other people. That's what made that happen. It was all fives. It was all fives, tens, and 20s that did it. There were one or two big donations, but it was all fives, tens, and 20s that really brought us up there. So that's an event-changing moment. So yeah, I mean, in a sense, you're right there. As soon as there's a commercial interest, that's when this idea of new alternative media suddenly becomes something a little bit different, because then you're trying to, serve the interests of those who've invested in it. Which in a sense we're already having to do, because when people have given us money out of their pocket, we've got to then serve their needs. We can't be sitting about, we've got to make sure that we're producing what they've paid into it for, Which in a way I think is a bit more democratic. It's crowd fund, but it's crowd control as well,
I just think it's fascinating. I think it's fascinating. Just in a general point, a lot of the issues that we talk about and we discuss, there's this sense of increasing frustration and indignance about the state of the world and the way that things should be, and our frustration at the injustices that we feel. There's this sense through all the different sources of information that we're consuming quicker and quicker all the time, that we're racing towards this kind of this chaotic singularity where the whole world is just going to implode or explode, and somehow we've got to pull it all together. But actually, when you look at the actual information and the actual statistics that show things like human progress, even in the darkest corners of this world, you see that actually things are better now than they've ever been. You've never been more safe. You've never lived in a freer society, is what you live in now. And so sometimes it can be nice to just take a few moments out of your day to be grateful for what we've got, to be grateful, know that we settle for that, but to maintain a sense of well-being and perspective so that we can be more effective when we're actually fighting the causes that we want to fight. Because see, sometimes it can be exhaustive to be angry and indignant all the time, and to get that really big chip on your shoulder. When you see yourself as a victim, which many in the Yes campaign do, and I've seen myself as a victim all my life, believe you me, some of the most tyrannical things I've ever said and done, I truly believe that I was taking very careful preventative action to protect myself or some principle that I thought I stood for, and I'd done something or said something really horrible, really destructive, really not progressive, regressive. And so, that's something that I think was just worth saying, to anybody out there that is watching this or isn't watching it. Moral groupthinks are dangerous. The more the more defragmented the Yes campaign becomes, the better. So you've got Indie Live doing their own thing, very clear about what they're doing. That's brilliant. Then you've got Comment Space doing their thing. That's brilliant. You've got Bella doing their thing. That's brilliant. I think the more defragmented it becomes, I think the healthier it is. Because not only does it create more spaces for conversations to exist, but it's alternative conversations, different stuff about different things. And I'm definitely going to make more of an effort to try and do what I just did there, which is focus on a lot of the positives, a lot of the positives of where we're at and human history, where we're at in human history. We make all these conversations and for the comfort of our well-lit, reasonably heated home, where even if you don't pay your bills, you're not going to get kicked out of your house in the street, right? That's something to be grateful for. Whether people like it or not, that's happening in the United Kingdom. That's happening in the United Kingdom.
That's true, that's true. Well, let's try and draw things to a wee close here. There are a few more comments here. So Brian suggests that CND is a big non-party political monolith, so he's maybe right about that. Brian also says, fair play, Loki.
When I said monolith, by the way, I didn't mean it. I wasn't inferring it in negative. All I meant was Commonweal is a singular organisation with a few different facets to its presentation, okay. But it's monolithic in the literal sense of it being one big thing. So okay. I didn't mean to infer it negative when I said that.
Okay. Brian also says, fair play, Loki. I don't always agree with you, but your opinion is your voice. Burger70 asks about us, about Independence Live. Why not talk more about the crap that happens in Scotland? And all the best. Well, you'll probably find it gets covered at some point. In the GA Ponsonby article, Newsnet, so this is the Newsnet article from the other day, was advocating the opposite of fragmentation for new media. The article was advocating a more unified approach. Now, I think if I remember when I was reading that, what I was thinking was that Common Space could become a sort of more of an umbrella, which could help mediate the other new media that's being produced. So that there's a sort of a one place that you can sort of go to find it all, and then you go from there, but no one's necessarily been editorially controlled.
Yeah, well, I
think we would not want to have anybody above us.
I feel the best way to deal with it, for people to freely share their knowledge and experience of how they created their successful whatever it is, and so that's how we help each other. We help each other by saying, okay, so you did that thing. I mean, this was one of my massive issues with National Collective, because it was like they had a big platform, but there were conditions on sometimes what you could say. And I thought, hang on, are we not supposed to be the revolutionary fucking aspect of this whole thing? The artists, the freedom, no all that stuff in your advertising? You mean to tell me you're really paranoid about things getting out to the mainstream press? I thought we were like pure rebels. So I think that there's going to be a certain sort of willingness to share resources and share knowledge, and not based on conditions or fears, because the actual process of doing these things is just as important as the outcome of doing them. The process, you know yourself. I'm sure your life is taking on a new meaning in your pursuits with Independence Live. I hear stories like that, countless stories every single day. People are learning new skills, feeling motivated about life, feeling really engaged in life because of the fact that they discovered a passion for something. Now, in terms of what the Newsnet article was saying, a more unified approach, aye. But like I said about National Collective, you can only unify around certain principles. You can only unify around free speech, freedom of expression. And so any kind of collective action, it only works when everyone who's unifying is unifying around inalienable principles about people's right to express how they feel. If they unite around anything else, it will become corrupted. So people just need to sign up to a charter that says, these are the things we believe in. Anybody working within these places is entitled to these certain specific things. These are the things we aspire to be. And when these principles, when one of us comes under attack from society, we will all unite to protect these principles, no matter what. No matter what. It's the only thing people can unite around. So, I mean, look at National Collective. Look at what happened to them. Where are they? They're nowhere. They're defunct. They're gone. It's dead. Why? Because they were trying to be collective around a political campaign that is only momentarily happening. But they were nowhere to be seen when it came to actually like digging in and being ballsy and really being rebels and really being troublemakers, because they didn't have any principles to unite around or to collectivise around. So I think we should learn from that experience and really like be clear in our mind. What do we believe in? How do we enshrine that in something? Because I think there's other journalists out there working for no outlets that feel the same. No, that feel the same, that want something more depth to life, something to unite around, and see these inalienable principles and ethics and all these things we believe in. They transcend yes, no, old, young, gay, straight, black, white, boy, woman, whatever. You know what I mean? And these are the things at the core of, I don't know, definitely why I do things, why I try to do things. So I unite around name. You know what I mean? Don't everybody be like, ah, right, okay, this is the 17th annual meeting of the 70,000 pro yes organisations, okay, and it's 10 years just to get something done. You know what I mean?
Okay. So just on that note of sharing the love, Loki, what's the details of your blog? We'll put it up, but just to let
Thank
the
you.
people out there know.
It's just, by the way, thanks for the comments and audience engagement and all that. Sorry if I got a bit heated earlier. I'm just passionate like everybody else, and it's been a long week already, and it's only Monday night. So my blog is lokithescottishrapper.com. There's a variety of writing on there, covering a variety of topics, and just getting about it. I mean, I very much try to retain my independent thought and amongst all of these temptations to make money and be kind of quasi famous. So I'm just trying to keep it real. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, thanks for that. Also, recommend to anybody that's out there on independentslang.net, check out our blogs. We've got a lot of writing that's happening right now. In fact, Karen Kelly's just posted something today. I've not had a chance to read it myself, but please, there's a lot of good work that's getting posted up. Don't miss out on it. If you like something, share it. Okay, I'm going to make a little recommendation. If you do go to Common Space, you'll find, first of all, the details of the 21st of June get-together. So if you want to get tickets for that, commonspace.scot. But on the broadcast carousel, the apolitical interview, the latest one's with columnist Ian Dunn. There's also been one with Patrick Harvey. I'm not sure if there've been ones. I think that they're the first two of those. So, but this new apolitical podcast is well worth tuning into. If you're using Android,
I saw Patrick. By the way, I'm everywhere, right, man. I saw Patrick Harvey cutting about in a fancy bike with no helmet on. Tell Patrick Harvey to get his recycle helmet on. That's setting a bad example to the troops. Know what I mean? Why does he not wear a cycle helmet?
Cycle helmets are propaganda, mate. See, when I was a wee boy, there was no such you'd get slapped for wearing it. You'd get punched for wearing a cycle. That would hazardous to your health. You'd get pushed off your bike for wearing a cycle helmet. That was Blue Peter that did that. If you're using Android, if you've got a Samsung Galaxy, get the Google Play. Go to Google Play and get the Android app. Okay, we've got an Independence Live app. You know, we're moving with the times here. Thanks very much, everybody who helped out with the crowdfunder. Once again, that was just like we couldn't believe how that just came. We thought it was lost. You know, we had about $3,000 came in the last night, so absolutely unbelievable. Brian, just before we go, Burger says, any gigs coming up?
I am playing the Scottish Album of the Year Awards Wednesday night. Which I wasn't actually nominated for any awards. Apparently, I was I narrowly missed out, but that's fine because I wasn't actually expecting anything when I made that album. However, the offer to do the gig is something that myself and my band are very grateful for. So you should go and check it out. It's at the O2 Academy. It's on Wednesday night. If you're not there, you've got to hear about it anyway. We'll be pulling all sorts of stunts, you know. So, man, and just like you can just if you want to hear more of my music or whatever, just go on into Google and type Loki Scottish rapper, and pictures of hundreds of other rappers will come up.
Okay, talking other rappers, we're going to say a big well done to Jackal Trades, who was being asked to go to the Edinburgh Fringe event. I'm sorry, I don't know the details of the name of it, but it's a spoken word event, I believe. It's at the Edinburgh Fringe. It's by the BBC. I think there are 12 people who made the shortlist, so he's basically in the finals there. So excellent, well done.
Jackal Trades, aye, I know him very well. He's a good pal and a talented satirist, I believe is the technical term.
Okay. So well done for getting through to that. So Darren, is there anything you want to contribute just before we close?
Yes, I would just like to say thanks for the opportunity to come on and get a chat. And it's good to see that you got your crowdfund sorted. I'm sure that was a big relief. And other than that, I'll just bid you farewell. You know what I mean? Thanks again, and best of luck to you.
Okay, well, thanks very much for coming on. Thanks very much for everybody who listened in tonight and stayed with us. Thanks very much for posting your questions, and we'll catch you again soon. Okay, peace.
Peace out.